Welcome to the Manhattan Project, where we travel across the world. So, hey guys, it's been a while since we've done a review. That's because things have been crazy, including me being in New Zealand right now. That's right, I'm in New Zealand, which means I just got to see Thor 3 Ragnarok. Take a look at all of the fun stuff I've been doing in New Zealand, but I'll keep it brief. I'm about to go see Thor 3 in Wellington, New Zealand, home of the director, Taika Waititi. I think that's where he's from. But he's from New Zealand, so cool. Wasn't that cool? So yeah, as you saw, tonight I went to go see Thor 3 Ragnarok in Wellington, New Zealand, and it's made by a New Zealand filmmaker who even plays a part in the movie. The crowd was like totally lit. If you don't know what the movie's about, then you should watch like 12 other Marvel movies. Just kidding. It's about Thor, who is off trying to stop Ragnarok when the goddess of death comes in and makes things way harder, and he gets kind of banished off to some off weird place in space where he meets up with the Hulk and has to get home and stop the end of the world. Take a look at the trailer.
Look who it is! I have to get off this path. Thor Ragnarok.
What were my expectations for this one? Basically, I thought that this movie would be pretty damn fun because I like the director Taika Waititi a lot. I think he's very funny and quite charming with his movies. I also think that it would be pretty similar to the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which I don't love that much. So I wasn't like super anticipating it, but silly and fun. And here's the review. Thor 3 is a mostly delightful movie that's constant subversions of expectation only serve to highlight the larger structural things in the movie that are just so predictable. Basically, on a scene by scene and line by line basis, this movie's having a ton of fun. There's a lot of jokes where the writer said, okay, what would normally happen, and then let's just turn that on its head. Or let's even just have a character try to do something and then fail, because failure is always funny. So you're never really bored during the movie. It is true that in a lot of ways it's similar to Guardians of the Galaxy, but for the most part, it doesn't feel like it's just copying that movie. It's more just, hey, it's funny when we do zany things in space. I think that Taika has really realized how silly, like both like science fiction and fantasy can be. Like all these like self-important people where everything is the end of this and that is so like not relatable on a human level that can be funny. So some of the best humor comes from that. And the only issue is there's a ton of exposition in this movie, and like those jokes can go a long way to help make some of the exposition easier to swallow, but at a certain point the movie just really gets bogged down by the exposition and also the pace. This movie is over 2 hours, and there's really no reason that it needed to be. Could have been a 100-minute movie, and I think it would have had just as much entertainment value. If they skipped a couple jokes and put them, on the Blu-ray, it wouldn't have mattered. But even then, there's serious scenes too that just could have gone. Especially, like I said, given the fact that the overall structure of the movie is just so unbelievably predictable. I mean, we know, that Thor's gonna do this. He's gonna get back to Asgard off this planet, and we can figure out how he's gonna do it, and the people he's gonna work with, and what the consequences might be, and the ending does a pretty good job of finally going in a new direction. I don't want to spoil anything in this review, but the ending does do interesting things, but it's sort of at the cost of keeping the movie feeling like it's pointed in a direction the whole time, just so they can say, hey, we kind of changed it. But that makes the movie a little more boring at times. There's a really interesting idea in the movie that I wish was more what the movie was actually about, but that Thor's real power, or that his other power in addition to just like being strong, comes from empathy. We see it in his conversations with Loki, with the Hulk, with Bruce Banner, with a woman the Tessa Thompson, her character. I'm blanking on her name. She's a Valkyrie, just thing. With Odin, with the villain, Hela, played by Cate Blanchett, who does an amazing job. So we see that he's really good at like empathizing with who he's talking to, and that like he's using different strategies, and they play that for humor. But it's an interesting idea that he has become like, even though he's kind of a doltish guy, he's actually become more perceptive. But that doesn't end up being the way he saves the day, though. Like, it still is very like, well, like he's a god, so it's really hard to kill him, and he's really good at killing people, so he'll probably save the day. Once again, the ending sort of redeems that and makes it more about like decision making and responsibility. But that wasn't like the theme of the movie in some ways. The theme of the movie seemed to be about Thor like being less of an idiot and being more of like a people person, if that makes any sense. Which is a really interesting idea for like, seeing his arc across the movies. He was very arrogant, and then he learned how to be more responsible, and now he's learning how to be more personable. I don't know, something I saw in the movie. To talk about Cate Blanchett as the villain just for a second, in many ways she exemplifies what works and what doesn't work with this movie. Her performance, just stellar. Cate Blanchett owns it. There's a real dominatrix like thread through her role, which I think that like a lot of like 12-year-old boys will be experiencing their first sexual urges while watching this movie. I don't know. At the same time, her performance being good, her character is really thinly written. Her motivations are stunningly just like basic, and the fact that they get repeated a lot doesn't really help make it any more interesting, I would say. Similarly, there's a weird self-aware thing in this movie, which is very self-aware, about how like silly and boring all the family drama is. So even though she participates in that whole family drama between Odin and Loki and Thor, them calling it out does like, what does that mean? So yeah, there are times with this movie, and particularly with her character, where either it just, like I said, feels predictable, but also then aimless in that way, where it's like, what's the point? Like, yeah, you got a really good actor to play the role, but like, why did you write the role in the first place? What does her character bring to Thor's story and to Thor's arc? Or for what's her own arc, like, how could she become a three-dimensional character and that sort of thing? Sort of a small side note, I don't know what was going on with the hair and makeup for Loki, but they really took it in an extreme direction here. He looks like a vampire. Like, he looks a lot like Tom Cruise in Interview with the Vampire. The hair is very fake. His face is very pale. His eyebrows seem very weird. Either way, the point is there's a lot of things you can nitpick about this movie, and Devil's Advocate's type review of it could really take it down. But on the larger level, is it fun? Yes. Is it funny? Yes. Does it have just like some really good stuff in it? Absolutely. I think that the ending, while sort of the 180 into more serious territory, is a little eye-rolly. I think it works for me as far as getting me excited about what the MCU is doing next. I'm very interested, very excited. As far as just ending in a way that is, unpredictable compared to certain Marvel movies, sure, I buy it. I think that a lot of people will like the new characters. They gave them some room to spin. So yeah, I can't be that harsh in this movie. Thor 3 is probably, a bit big. It could have just been like Thor 2.5, a leaner movie, and it would have been awesome, as opposed to just like, it's good. I enjoyed watching it. I liked it better than Guardians 2, I would say. So no, some really solid stuff. Glad I got to see it early in a packed house. Thank you guys so much for watching, guys. We're the Manhattan Project. We review movies. We also do the Devil's Advocates, where we disagree with Rotten Tomatoes about movies. So please check that out when you have a chance. Goodbye.